So you're just gonna point to us. Yeah, well,
Just got a little intro. Just let me know. Testing one. It's definitely on. Good to go. Live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live webinar at Dojo Co-working Space in Bali. Big round of applause, everyone. Woo! Oh, yes. Hello to everybody in the audience and also everybody who's watching at home. Today, we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence and how it's changing SEO and Facebook ads. And most importantly, how you can leverage this in your business. Now, today we have 4 amazing speakers, and they're going to be talking on 3 different aspects of AI and how it's going to affect digital marketing. Our speakers for today are Viola and Bree Moreau, and they're the founders of White Label Digital Marketing, and they're specialized in SEO. And they're also the founders of DMSS, Digital Marketing Skillshare Conference, held every year in Bali. It's an amazing event. You definitely should check it out. And they're going to talk about how AI is changing SEO. We also have Kirill. Now, Kirill works for Persado. Now, he has, or Persado, I said in a slightly Spanish accent there. He has 10 years in e-commerce and paid media, and he leads the paid media team at Persado, and he has huge clients in the top Fortune 100, really big deal clients. And he'll be talking about how to use AI to create emotionally charged responsive content. So this is how AI will affect your content and how to use that to your advantage. Now, our first speaker of the evening, with 20 years in digital marketing, specializing in strategy, in created and consulted on huge campaigns such as Ferrari, Discovery Channel, Tommy Hilfiger, huge client. This guy's a real heavyweight and a fantastic speaker. Speaker at DMSS, I first heard him last year. Wonderful speaker. He's got a talent both in digital marketing and on the stage. Can I have a big round of applause as we welcome Andrea Del Tavio? Thank you, buddy.
That was too much. Okay, just to put some pressure. Hi, nice to see you again, maybe. So I can see some faces that I've already seen a few times. So I've been to Bali many times. I'm always happy to come back either for work or holiday or whatever. So whatever reason is fine to come to Bali. So today I will be talking about Facebook ads. Before I do that, I want to just give you a little background on myself, of what I've been doing and what I'm focusing on, so you can make a better idea what I do. So I'm the founder of Webbing, which is a growth marketing agency. It's 100% location independent agency. So we work with different clients in many different countries. And we have a team which is distributed across several countries. We were, I guess, one of the very first agencies to work like this. So we started 10 years ago when I moved to London, and we are enjoying it. So I have quite a long experience, 20 years. I'm pretty old. You can see it from my white hair. When apart from specializing on Facebook ads and digital marketing, I also write for on a few different blogs, and for HuffPost, the US edition. I wrote a chapter on Facebook ads in a book which was published in Italy last year. And I created a lot of different campaigns, not only for big, large clients, but also for smaller clients. So I can manage, hi dog, I can manage small budgets or large budgets. That doesn't scare me. I also recently launched an academy. It's a Popup Academy. So we basically do a lot of training in different countries. Basically, you book a course and we pop up. So we come and we give you the workshop, or we do this online. So we just launched the very first course in online course on Facebook ads. I've been doing a lot of different workshops in many countries since last year. So I traveled across UK, Italy, mostly Europe, but also the US and Bali. When I'm not working, I love surfing, as I think many of you here in this room. But I live in London, so I'm less unlucky compared to you. And I had to convince Her Majesty to basically create a wake garden, which are now quite popular in London, in Europe, not in London, but maybe one is coming. So let's go on, let's talk about Facebook. I won't be covering artificial intelligence because that is something that Kirill will do. I want to talk about the basics. So even if we want to rely on artificial intelligence, we need to know how Facebook ads work. So we cannot automate everything if we don't understand the context and how ads work on Facebook and Instagram, because they're quite different from search. Maybe search is easier, Google is easier on a way, because basically people just go on Google, type what they want, and they are telling us what they need. So it's easy to reply with ads and say, okay, you're looking for iPhone X. This is my offer on iPhone X. So it's quite simple. Then there are a lot of different variables, a lot of different expertise that you need to have if you want to run successful campaigns. But basically, the logic is quite simple. You look for something and I give it to you. On social media and Facebook, Instagram, or any other social where we don't focus on search, but we just browse, we just explore, we just learn, we just waste time sometimes. We don't know what people need in that specific moment. So it's a lot different from search. So we need to create a journey. We need to understand, first of all, who our target audience is. Then we need to understand when is the right time for them to buy our products or to be just interested in us. So we need to build a relationship. It's a lot harder than search from this point of view. So what's that? Okay. So we need to create a journey, and we need to create a journey. Otherwise, this is what's going to happen. Basically, we're going to have like a cost per conversion, which is higher than the cost of the product. So we cannot spend like $100 to sell like an iPhone cover, which costs, I don't know, $10, something like that. So we really need to focus on this kind of journey. How do we build this journey? A simple journey is built of three main levels. The first one is awareness. The second one is engagement. And the third one is conversion, which are actually also the main objectives of campaigns on Facebook ads on Facebook. So basically, for example, if we want to think about this kind of structure, we need to build awareness. So we need to tell our potential customers who we are, that we exist and we do this and we sell these products. Then we need to create a relationship with them because they're too cold. We don't know if they're interested in what we have to offer. So if we continue pushing ads to the wrong audience, we end up just wasting money. And third point, we need to just try to pull them to our website when it's the right time to buy. Now, I will I will show you how we can create a practical funnel, as we can call it. So the ingredients are strategy, targeting, and content. The strategy is quite simple. Basically, we need to build the audiences of the right people who want to see our ads at the right time. So this is basically the main asset you can build on Facebook is your audiences. So you need to focus on audiences. There are several ways to build audiences, but building audiences should be one of your first objective. Second, create the right audiences. To create the right audiences, we need to use a few tools that Facebook gives us. The first one, the most important one, is the pixel. So the Facebook pixel that we need to install on our website is something that allows us to know what people do when they come to our website, what pages they visit, how much time they spent, if they add products to the cart, if they purchase, if they fill out a form, or if they click on links. We can track almost anything we want if we add the Facebook pixel to our website, and if we track the events. So there are two types of events: standard and custom events. Standard events are these 9 events that Facebook already provides, and basically they work for almost any kind of business. So unless we want to track something very specific, we can go ahead and just use the standard events. But if we want to create custom conversions, so we want to track specific actions, we need to create custom conversions. So custom conversions that you can create from your business manager are a few ideas. Can be like scroll to bottom of specific page. So if we want to create an audience of people who scroll to the end of our landing page, for example, or if we want to track people who download files, or if you want to track people by the time they spend on our website, or for example, if we want to track people who click on outbound links. So there are a lot of different actions that we may want to track, and we can do that by setting up custom events. Then we need to create remarketing audiences. Remarketing audiences are the best audiences when it's time to sell, because these are audiences of people who have already engaged with us, with our page, with our brand, know us. Maybe they're ready to buy products and services from us. So basically, a few examples of custom audiences that you can create are people who visited the website in the last 30 days and the last 180 days, for example, or people who browsed specific pages or specific products, or people who added products to the cart but didn't buy, or people who engaged with our Facebook page and with our Instagram account, for example, or people who watched our videos for a certain amount of time. So like 10 seconds, 3 seconds, 10 seconds, or 25%, 50%, and so on. So that is particularly useful because it gives us a very valuable information. So if I have an audience of 1,000 people who watched like my videos for 50%, I assume that that kind of audience is quite interested in what I have to say. So I will be retargeting that audience with other campaigns. There is an audience, a very cheap, inexpensive audience that you can make with just $100 if you want to create a remarketing audience of 10,000 people who, for example, watch your video. So this campaign is this approach is interesting because if you're really starting now, you need a warm audience. This is the cheapest way to build a remarketing audience of so many people. So with 10,000 people, you can just run an ad with a video or more videos. And if the video is engaging, if it's interesting for the audience, if you've done the targeting right, then you can get to cost per engagement, which is as low as 1 cent or even less. It depends on what people and what country you're targeting. So this is something that you can run in just a couple of days, and after 2 days, you just have an audience of 10,000 people that you didn't have before, and you can start like targeting them with different ads, different kind of campaigns. So build a simple AdV system on Facebook. This is an easy approach that I always suggest. So if you are starting, or if you are even experienced, I think this is a good way to have under control your Facebook ads. So you can basically create this that I call a system. It's based on 3 main campaigns. First campaign is targeting new clients, so people who don't know your brand and your products. So basically, we want to increase the brand awareness. So what do we do? Where do we start from? We create a campaign. We use videos, and we use as a targeting. We use lookalike audiences if we have already an audience. Otherwise, we need to start with a saved audience. I suggest to add just a few interests and target also by like employer, job title, to be very specific. You use a 1-minute video. You can, of course, create more than just 1 videos. And you can create a custom audience of people who watch the video for at least 10 seconds, and create a lookalike audience of the people of the custom audience that you just create. Then you move to campaign number 2. Campaign number 2 has an engagement objective. So with this kind of campaign, you want to build a relationship with the people who have watched your videos. So basically, you use another video. You may ask people to even go on your website and fill out a form to like get a freebie or to get something, a free trial, for example. So you start getting some leads also. And you create, basically you create a remarketing audience of people who interact with this campaign, who engage with this campaign. So basically, you have another audience which is probably a smaller audience than the first one, but it's more interested in what you have to sell. And then you create another campaign, the third one, which has a conversion objective. With this campaign, you just basically target the people who engaged with the second campaign. So you go down the funnel and you get rid of people who are not interested in the campaign. So you just keep focusing on those who are interested, and those who are interested are the ones who engaged with the second campaign. So basically, in this case, you use a link post, or you might want to use even other formats. Usually, you want to drive people to your website at this stage because you want to get a real conversion. It might be a one-time offer, for example. So you may want to target people and say, okay, now come to the website, one-time offer, 50% off, or whatever you want. And also at this point, you create 2 more custom audiences. One is a custom audience of people who visit the landing page and buy. And the second one is a custom audience of people who don't buy, but visit the landing page. So you will do what at this point, you will run another campaign and optimize it towards people who converted. So maybe you want to upsell something because they were clients. So basically they bought something, they might be ready to buy something else. Or you retarget the people who put your offer in the cart, for example, but didn't buy it, and you may want to try to convince them like with another offer or whatever. So basically this is a common approach to a simple advertising system you can use on Facebook. Third point is content. So content is really important. As we will see with Kirill in the next presentation, their solution, their platform can automate, and basically being based on machine learning, they can create a lot of different ads, a lot of different combinations based on a lot of different aspects. But I think it's really important that you also know what works, and how to basically create a nice post, an effective post. So first of all, the headline is the desired results. So if you want to communicate something, just focus on what people want to achieve. So save 7% on taxes, for example, or learn basic Spanish in 1 week. This may seem obvious, but if you look at ads on Facebook, you will notice that a lot of ads focus on what they have to offer, not what people want to achieve. So if in doubt, you can run this this very effective test that I call the "who gives a shit" test. So basically, every time you come up with an idea for a title, if once you read it, you think "who gives a shit," then the headline is wrong. So this is an example. We just launched a new Spanish course. I'm not interested. Who gives a shit? It's different if I say speak basic Spanish in 1 week, because maybe that's what I want to achieve. So I'm not interested in a course, but I'm interested in learning Spanish. Other techniques that a lot of marketers use every day and know very well is to, for example, use community validation. So join 10,000 other entrepreneurs who saved on taxes. So we don't feel alone. There are a lot of other people. So if other people are doing that, maybe I should do that too. You can use branding validation. So for example, we are targeting startups, and we can say, startup, find out how Airbnb and Facebook save on taxes with us. Then we may use scarcity and urgency. So 50% for the first 100 customers just today. So there are a lot of different techniques. So it's important that you know how they work and you implement them in your own campaigns. This is an example of a couple posts of ads that work really well. Always put the headline in on the images. You can see that they are basically trying to tell you what you achieve if you click on the ad. Also, try to use long text ads, because they usually get a higher relevance score. Getting a high relevance score means that you pay less your advertising, and because they're more effective to your audiences. Or also, a few tips. Working with ad sets. If you work a lot with Facebook ads, or if you're starting out and you're wondering how many ads I should put in an ad set, or if I need to create several ad sets, or how many interests can I add to each one of those. So there are a few common options. So basically, first one is just put an ad in the ad set. If you put more than one, Facebook basically will give more visibility to the one that gets the more engagement first. So it will penalize all the others anyway. So if you want to run 3 different options, like 3 different creatives, try to use 3 different ad sets. So you will basically push them all together at the same time. Duplicate ad sets and add 1 different interest each. So basically, try to just have at least like 10 ad sets, each with 1 interest, so you can see which interest works better for you. Target niches. Don't be afraid of targeting like just 1,000 people, because you can even target even smaller audiences, like people who work at a specific company, and maybe you're just targeting 100 people, but it's the 100 people you really want to get to. And also, always track conversions. Even if you're running an ad with under a campaign which has like an engagement objective or brand awareness, you might get sales from that ads, and you won't even realize it just because you're not tracking it. So always tick the Facebook pixel on the ad when you are setting it up. And that was it. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, just let me know.
Oh, yes. A round of applause, Andrea D'Ottavio. This is Q&A time. We're just going to let you hang on. I'll let you face the camera so you can speak to those guys as well. Do you have any questions for Andrea? In Dojo, in the house, anybody got any questions? What's that? Up the back. Oh, nice.
So Andrea, when you do the one-time offer for the person, there's people that convert on the one-time offer, and there's people that don't convert. How do you try to resell them back into your funnel? That makes any sense?
Yeah, of course. You can try to, you can do that in two ways. So you can basically run another campaign and just push the one-time offer, or you can also email them the one-time offer, and then you can basically even retarget people who, like, for example, opened the email, visited the website. There are many ways to run it. That was just like an simple approach to basically create the first conversions, but you can do it in different ways.
Okay, thanks, Andrea.
Any other questions? All right, big round of applause for, oh, we got one. Oh, premature.
With the creating the custom conversions, can you go a little bit more into that? Like, so how do you set up, if I'm just in it right now having a look at it, because I think it's really interesting to create more lookalikes, you scale it.
Yeah.
But like, do you have to specifically like set an event, or what do you mean? Like, how do you set it up so
no, you can create different audiences on custom audiences you're talking about, right?
No, but like you said, creating custom conversion.
Oh yeah, the events.
Yeah, the events.
You can do that from the business manager.
Yeah.
There is a section, I think it's under assets maybe, and it's where the pixel is, and it's called custom conversions on the menu. So once you get there, you can create different custom conversions that can be based on URLs, or they can be based on events. If you want to create custom conversions based on URLs, it's very easy. You just add the URL. If you want to create them based on events, you need to create the event first and add it to the pixel. So for example, there is a string that you can find if you just Google it. And then you add that tracking code in your Facebook pixel on your website. And basically you can name it as you like. You can even call it like people who scroll 100%, and you call it that way. After like a few minutes, if you do that event, if you make it happen, you will see it on Facebook. So once you create a custom conversion, after a while, it will come up. So if you scroll down below the URLs, you will see the events, you will see the standard events, and you will see your own custom events there. Yeah. So it's really easy. It's easy, but it takes just a few minutes.
Do the custom events dynamically update?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you don't have to constantly upload them?
No.
What about the offline events? Do you have to upload a file?
Yes, that's different. You can even connect a CRM for offline events. So if, let's say, you want to, you run a price contest in your shop, and you ask people to sign up when they come to the shop, you register them using, an iPad, and you put them to MailChimp, for example, then you can connect your MailChimp and create the custom offline conversion.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions? Going once? Going twice? Nice one. Big round of applause, Andrea D'Ottavio. What a champion. Thank you. Now, for our next speaker, we have Krill. Can I just have a test vocal? Say hi. You hear me loud and clear,
Hello.
Krill?
Yes, yes, I can.
Oh, nice.
How's it
All the way from the
going?
USA, right?
Yes, San Francisco, live from San
San
Francisco.
Francisco. What time is it with you?
Oh, it's only 3 a.m.
Just 3
So
a.m.
it's all good.
Nice one. Let's give him a big round of applause, everyone. Warm welcome. It's over to you.
All right, just making sure you guys can see my screen. Yes?
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect, perfect. All right. Thank you, Andrea, for setting me up nicely. I always forget to talk about the basics when I get too excited and kind of get into the weeds of things. So as you guys heard, I'm going to talk a little bit about AI and how to use AI within the space of Facebook. So let's just go ahead and dive into it. I like to start with something like this. If you guys ever play Scrabble, this is an interesting word for you. I'm not going to try to pronounce it because English is my second language, and there's a reason I didn't go into the medical field, is because I cannot pronounce long names like this. But there's the reason this word is interesting is because it's, in theory, the word that gets you the most points in Scrabble. In fact, you're going to get 1,778 points. And if you consider that an average family game is about 200 to 270 points, you're definitely going to win this particular, if you play this particular word. Of course, you have to be awfully lucky to get there. The reason I wanted to start with that is because I sometimes feel that Facebook or any kind of advertising, especially when you start talking about content, is a little bit like Scrabble, right? We're trying to get to a winning combination of words to get us the most points. So kind of taking that analogy forward, I want to talk to you about AI and how do we use AI to help us get the winning score. So obligatory slide of it, all the logos of all the companies I've worked with. I haven't been around as much as Andrea, but I have been around for about 10 years. Started with search and SEO, worked for Amazon for a while, optimizing their landing pages, worked for the longest time in banners and dynamic creative and optimization. For a long time, I did what I call catalog-based advertising. It's a fancy word of saying you have a giant catalog and now you use it to do search or do marketplace and things like that. And then I found my way into Persona, and here I am trying to teach the AI how to speak better than all of us here, hopefully. So over the next 20 minutes, I'm going to talk about 3 parts. First, I'm going to talk about how human looks at things and how AI looks at things. Then I'm going to talk about how do we add emotions into the mix. And I'm going to wrap it all up with showing you guys how AI can take all this information and actually start writing ads for us. All right, so human versus AI. So I'm going to go ahead and continue with my Scrabble methodology here. And let's say we have these these letters here. I think the first thing that comes to mind is the word go, just because it's right up front. But in fact, there's 74 possible words. We can start adding a little bit of help to humans here by introducing something like a Google or a dictionary here. And if you had the dictionary in Google, you can quickly come up with 74 words. You can actually score them, right? So if we score the top words here, we have the holler on top with 12 points, and then hero kind of on the bottom out of these 4 for 7 points. And we can clearly see that just the fact that we can actually look at all these words and properly score them, we have about 71% uplift from hero to howler in terms of points. So I've just kind of want to set the stage here for how having a good database to go off of is really valuable, not just for artificial intelligence, which was what I'm going to get to, but for humans as well. So if you had a big dictionary of all advertising possible, it's possible that you would be able to make better decisions moving forward. And I think some of that Andrea went to, that there's some best practices, and they come from the fact that these kind of things have been observed, right? Like maybe you want to use urgency in certain situations, or maybe you use headlines in the image. So the human, we kind of go through these checks, right? We try to understand exactly if this is a good move for us, if Howler is really the best thing. So you got gut feeling, kind of, okay, well, Howler has the most points. I look at my best practices, it fits with my best practices. And then I maybe even do a bit of an A/B test and saying, okay, well, if I, for the next couple of moves, I don't see any better thing than playing Howler, okay? And we're trying to do two things. We're trying to understand what's the effect of this move and what is going to be the effect of all the consecutive moves after I have placed Howler on the board. But what happens if I told you that we're going to introduce an artificial intelligence to it? I give it millions of games to have knowledge about. I give it tons of data about those games, including turns, house rules, time of day, anything that we can possibly think of. I would argue that Howler might not be the best move. It might have a certain metadata that can say that on turn 7, Howler is just terrible for you to play. You diminish your chances of winning the game by 20%. And in fact, what you should be doing is maybe going with Go, just because that sets up the board nicely for the future. So I guess what I wanted to demonstrate here is I wanted to show that if there's proper data and a large number of learning opportunities for an AI, it can overcome human intuition best practices in A/B testing. And we can see that across the board right now, right? I think everybody says AI is kind of the future that's here. But we know that it has beaten our best chess players. It has beaten our best Go players. If you follow computer gaming like I do, because I'm a geek, it has started to beat best players in first-person shooters. It has started to beat players in strategy games. So AI can definitely beat human intuition and best practices if given enough data points. So next, I want to talk a little bit about emotions, and I'm going to explain why here in a moment. So to do that, I need to talk to you guys about the marketing language cloud, which is kind of what we call Persona. And what I want to talk about is kind of how Persona thinks about these things, and I'm going to teach you about some of the things we learned over the past 10 years or so while collecting about 1 billion data points on marketing and emotions. So what is a marketing language cloud? Well, it's kind of a fancy word, but I separate it into 3 parts, and I hope these images kind of start looking familiar from the past. So first, we have about 1 million words and phrases that we basically scan the internet for, and we classify them into 15 different emotional categories. Now, on top of that, we have all this metadata associated with how these words and phrases perform in the real world. So we now have the vertical, we have the campaign time, we have time of day, we have audiences, all of that metadata. If we ever use the word, we have that embedded in our platform. And then through testing, we've collected over 1 billion data points over the last 10 years. And the reason we exist really is the fact that we kind of know that intuitively know that emotions matter, right? I think I took this from a guide that Facebook had when I think in November 2017, when they were talking about how do you prepare your campaigns for the Christmas season. And one of the things they've said is that your messages should be emotionally relevant. They didn't mention how to do that, but they did mention it. And what we've learned over the last 10 years at Persona is that that's absolutely the key. Not only you're connecting with your customers emotionally, that actually could potentially increase the engagement and conversion events by 20 to 50%, and reduces churn by 15% while increasing LTV. And that comes from the fact that up to 60% of the response could be associated with using the right emotion. And I think all of us have kind of the knee-jerk reaction of using urgency here and kind of going to urgency, and I've done the same to beginning. But I just wanted to highlight some of the other type of emotions that potentially could be used in advertising. And it only makes sense, right? So emotions is how we communicate with humans. If you were going to go into a store, a salesperson will start collecting data about you in form of interactions. They'll learn that you might be a high achiever and you like a challenge. You have 2 kids, that you're a loyal customer because they've seen you in the past. And you'll start using that to actually sell something. You can say something like, this is our best running shoe, you've really earned this. Unfortunately, as we get into the screens, we start doing something like this, right? Trail running shoe on sale, only 2 days left. So there is actually emotion in there. There's urgency in there, as I mentioned. That's kind of our go-to as marketers. But we're missing that interaction. We're missing that proper emotion that we would have used if it was a customer in the store. And in this particular example, the difference between only 2 days left, which is the urgency emotion, and you earn this, could be up to 400% in terms of somebody actually buying the shoe. So I guess what my whole section here boils down to is that emotions really matter, and we can't ignore them, and we have to have a significant database to help personalize our creatives to different type of people, right? So here's just a quick example, just a quick mock-up of what that might look like. On the left, you have somebody who's primarily driven by achievement. So he sees earn rewards, score 25% off travel. On the right, we have you got you covered for safety. And just to give you an idea of how these emotions perform, if they really do perform differently, where do we get that number 60% and difference of 400%? So this is a particular consumer electronics customer, one of our longest customers here. Just always interesting to see how emotions perform for somebody. Urgency is performing kind of towards the bottom quarter here. What's interesting is anxiety, which is a close cousin of urgency, is actually outperforming all others. We don't see it often, but in this particular case, that is what the emotional profile looks like. So I just wanted to convince you guys that emotions matter. I think we all knew that intuitively, but I wanted to address that. And I wanted to make sure that you're clear why we're going to try to teach AI how to use emotions and how we are going about creating a robust database for the AI to look through all the data points and start connecting those data points to write better ads. So last but not least, of course, is the AI that kind of ties this all together. So if you look at any data from any particular campaign, this is just an example, honestly, it can be looked at as a score. It's like a score at Scrabble. And that's exactly how we show it to AI and how AI looks at things. It has done a certain message, it put it out there, there were certain impressions, there were certain click-through rate. It either has won or it has lost. So what we want to ask AI to do is we want to say, here's our ad. Can you go through all the permutations of the ad that's possible, looking at emotion, descriptive elements, formatting, all the possible things, and give me 16 variants so that I can, which I can use to further calibrate and to test out what's going to happen with those 16 variants. So I had a little fun with this, and I actually played around with the ad that potentially would have been for this event. I just wanted to see what the machine would see, right? So just kind of let's go into the machine mode for a second and see what happens here. So first of all, we have a little bit of formatting here, free, being all capitalized. We have an image. We have a descriptive copy. And we have a CTA. So machine, this is not really how the machine breaks that out, but as a human, it's a little easier for us to kind of think of it as these bits and pieces. So then I asked the machine, okay, well, there's this event in Bali, just to give it an idea of type of language that should be used. What would you recommend? So machine went in, looked at the app that we've created really quickly here, and then translate it into some possible suggestions here. And although it might look exactly the same, I just wanted to highlight a few things that machine, using that giant emotional database that we have and those billion data points, start to recommend. So it may be a lucky day. It's actually an emotional value that's starting to be introduced. Remember, as I mentioned, 60% of the interactions could be attributed to emotions. Then a little bit of a different descriptive element, how to use AI to sell more. Announcing, another emotional element. Bali digital tax, right? So small changes. And one thing I love to do when I point at these things is that if you saw either of these ads in the wild, you would not know that the one on the right has been created by a machine. So maybe go a little bit more crazy. Here's another example that the machine has generated. Of course, the first thing that jumps at you, the image has changed. A lot of our clients come in and say that we have to have the product absolutely have to have the product in the image. Time and time again, we have proven that that might not necessarily be the case. Sometimes an emotional image actually is a better way to get interactions and to get conversions than having, let's say, a newspaper in the image, even if your company sells newspapers. So potentially, we would want to test something like this. Again, we have another emotional content that's starting to be introduced, Too Incredible to Miss, how to use AI to sell more. And now you have an emotional content that's being introduced here in the image. This is happening, don't miss out. So again, it's a little bit sometimes counterintuitive. You want to make sure that you want to highlight what the event is about or things like that, and want to give as much information to the client as possible. But at the same time, based on all of our billions of interactions, we have noticed that you can really change how the person interacts with your ad by adding emotional content into the ad. So Ali Digital Talks, and please RSVP, which is emotional and kind of a CTA type of copy. And just to quickly show you one more that's a little bit even further down the road here. Again, image is now very Bali. It's maybe a lucky day. We kind of seen that before. Create a perfect post for the right audience, which is descriptive element. It's time to be spontaneous. It's very emotional copy, and you're just in time. Exactly. It's again also very emotional copy. So this is just I know it's super blurry, but this is the 16 ads that the machine recommended. Obviously, it's using some of the elements from the original ad that we've generated, but also have added a lot of different emotions and a lot of different type of copy and imagery that it would want to try out to expand our language. So going through this exercise, what I wanted to show is that given proper guidance, AI can connect dots, and it's uniquely equipped to leverage the cues from human written ads to create a better ad for a particular environment, as long as it has enough performance data and a big database of content to draw from. And I believe that is it.
Oh yes,
thank you for listening, everyone.
Oh yes. Just hang fire, Kirill. We're gonna ask the audience if they'd like to ask a question. Hold on, we're gonna do a bit of Q&A. All right, man. Hold on. We have our runners. Do we have any questions for Kirill regarding marketing? Oh yeah, marketing cloud question in the back.
So how do you find the difference between different verticals? Like if you're in like fashion, how is it different from digital marketing, different from products? Does emotions matter as much, or how does it work?
Yeah, so emotional content definitely matters across the board. We do see that the profiles vary. If you're talking to somebody in the financial sector versus somebody in the retail sector versus somebody in automotive sector, they differ quite a bit. It also differs regionally as well. So a profile of a customer in UK would be different than a profile of a customer in United States. And that's kind of where the artificial intelligence really shines, is it is able to connect some of those dots. So if I ran the same campaign in UK, you would see a different language being recommended than compared to what it recommended here, because I think I was setting it up as a US campaign. It's going to draw from a different set of data points, and the recommendations are going to be completely different. Again, you have a billion different words and phrases that we have in our database. So as a human, it would be really difficult to point at a particular language that is likely to perform well. Artificial intelligence is uniquely equipped for that.
Nice one. Next question. Does anyone have another question? You at the back.
One more question. So it seems you're running these tests already, right? And AI probably produces better results than humans in most cases. Are there also cases where humans are still better than AI?
Well, we still rely on humans to write the first ad. So that's very important. So we do lose very rarely, but it does happen. And that happens when we're looking at basically incorrect set of language. We typically still can expand on the human language, and maybe it takes more than one try. But in 90% of cases, I would say we beat the original control from the first try.
I have a question. Do you do A/B testing on the different versions? Because you showed us they produced the different versions with different wording, etc. But there wasn't any results for the test that you'd run to see which one was the most successful, right?
So yes, so everything we do runs based on tests. We actually run multivariate testing. It's called experimental design. That's why you have the 16 ads that are specifically designed to test particular parts of the creative. And we can actually identify what element of the creative increased or decreased the performance of the campaign. And all of that goes back into the AI. It allows us to actually create what we call the best predicted. I call it the Frankenstein message, where you take all the best parts and now you take even better, you create an even better ad than any one of those individual ads that we put out into market. So we put out 16, but in reality, we usually test about 1,024 permutations with those 16. So it gets a little bit into the weeds, but to answer your question, everything is done through multivariate testing, where not only we show that we can beat the control with the 16 ads that we put into market, the fact that we've learned on those 16 gets us the best predicted, which will get an additional boost on top of that.
Nice one. Oh, we got one question here.
So this platform of yours, it's a service, right? Is this something that's available to regular small, medium-sized businesses, or is your target customer like a enterprise type of client?
Yeah, good, absolutely great question. So there's actually two offerings. There is the self-service tool, which some of the screenshots that I've shown, those are targeted on the small and medium businesses. Relatively inexpensive. It allows you to access the whole platform and do what I've just shown you with the ad very quickly. It creates those 16 ads in about the same amount of time as you would have taken you to create an ad within a Power Editor. The second part of the business is the enterprise side of the business. That is more targeted towards American Expresses of the world and cities of the world and Chases of the world. Folks that are have a huge budgets, right? They can be spending millions of dollars a quarter, and getting the right message is absolutely critical. And there we have a full service, which is significantly more expensive and significantly more hand-holding, but the level at which we do the modeling is that much better.
Okay,
cool. Thanks.
Up the back, down the front as well. Yeah, we'll go down the front first.
Hi. Have you thought about using AI for testing different audiences and kind of taking some of the guesswork and some of the hunches out of that, or is it just the creative that you're focusing on at the moment?
Yeah, so it's a great question because it comes up all the time. We are focused on the creative, and the goal of the company is to communicate to each individual on a one-to-one basis using the proper emotional response. I think the overall vision of the company is at some point your ATM will speak to you in a language that you might like to be spoken to, right? Instead of just saying, "Would you like to withdraw $200?" It might say, "You deserve this vacation. You go ahead and withdraw the $200." So that's the vision of the company. We think of it as a last mile. It definitely rooted in audiences. We always test on audiences. We actually put a lot of metadata into our system about what type of audiences we run on. And in some cases, we actually can get to one-to-one communication, especially when that information is available. For example, in email, it's very clear how you as an individual interact with our messages. So we actually can build models on that. But we're not using AI to optimize bidding or optimize segmenting strategies at the moment.
Nice one. Question in the back. Stand by.
I think it has two parts about like maybe the scariness of like robots doing all this work, and the second thing I'm thinking is like, is there not, if this AI is producing like the perfect ad, then you have the perfect ad, then all of the ads end up looking the same because they're perfect, and then they become ineffective. So that, yeah.
Two great questions. It actually comes up all the time when we go to the clients, right? First is the first scary response is, "Hey, do I need to get rid of all my copywriters because obviously you guys can replace them?" The answer is no, right? We cannot write the first ad, which is one of the big things. And the second is that we still need copywriters to make sure everything flows together and the messages are not disjointed. You don't have a Facebook ad that is completely different than your ad on TV, that's completely different than an ad in a newspaper. That said, what we find is that the companies that use Versado a lot start to really adopt some of the insights and some of the language, and so their copywriters start to learn how to mimic the language that the artificial intelligence produces in cases where testing is not an option, which is a lot of tech cases. You run a weekend campaign, there's no way to test it, use artificial intelligence to get the 16 ads and get a really clear A/B test. So all of a sudden, they can go to this database of all the tests ran, and they can see clearly what the emotional profile for the audience is and all the words and phrases they can potentially use. And it becomes very easy for them to do that. In fact, creative agencies have told us that we expanded their language, not shrunk it. On the second part, well, wouldn't all ads look the same? It's a common question, and I would argue that whatever your copywriter is writing will look more similar than what artificial intelligence is writing. Artificial intelligence is completely not biased and has a billion different words and phrases go through. So even if it's identified a particular emotion that works well for a particular industry, it has hundreds of ways to say and trigger that emotion, which unfortunately, as humans, we have a bias and we will start falling into the same trend. And I've done the same thing where you start saying shop now and buy now throughout all of your ads, no matter what you're selling, whether you're selling a toaster or you're selling a diamond ring. So what happens actually is, again, our language expands when you use Versado, not contracts.
Okay, and the first part I was thinking about was not the scariness of doing lots of copywriters out of work, but like the scariness of if they are just like optimizing and optimizing and optimizing the ad, where is the balance before it becomes like false advertising maybe, or not any longer appropriate to what it is that you're selling?
Good. That's another good question. And the argument here is that we're not changing the ultimate message of the creative, right? We're not giving you a free kitten with every purchase. What we do is we change the emotional context of that, and we're talking to each individual in the correct way. Now that individual will shift through their emotional profile. You don't remain the same person as you were in the beginning of the year. In fact, there's a lot of seasonality to how you react to different messages. So that's why we continue to test and why we continuously adjust the message to make sure it fits with the profile for each individual audience, and at some point, actually individual, to make sure you're spoken to in a way that you would like to be. So if you're talking about a diamond ring, maybe you're talking about you deserve this diamond ring, versus a toaster. You probably don't want to see a message, you deserve this toaster. It's not as appropriate in that particular case.
Cool.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Nice one. Just last thing, just to clarify, is this a tool or a service? So if I wanted your service, if I wanted to use this cloud and then I signed up, would I be programming it myself, or would I be without some manager to be doing it for me?
Right. Again, there's two parts to it. The easiest way to get in is the self-service tool. It's very low barrier. You get access to the same database that all of our account managers use. You just in a self-service manner, where you would be able to upload your control. The AI will look at it, kind of go through the same exercise we just seen, look at what can be adopted and recommend some language for you, put it into Facebook, and then optimize from there. There is an enterprise level solution which gets you a whole team, which uses the same database, but since we are experts on using our own database, we tend to do it in a little bit different way.
Nice one. Thanks very much, Kirill. All right, big round of applause for Kirill. 3 o'clock in the morning, and he's giving us advice. What a champion. Thank you very much for tuning in. Now, for our last speakers, I think if you've been in Bali and you've been around Dojo, then you've met these guys before. These are the founders of White Label Digital Marketing and DMSS Conference. Can I have a big round of applause for Bree and Viola? Woo!
Second microphone, please. Thanks, Murray. Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Viola. This is Bree. And today we're going to be talking about AI and SEO and how Google uses AI. Can I go to second? Perfect. So, yeah, as Murray has been saying, we've been touring around Bali and Southeast Asia talking about SEO, how to do keyword research, how to optimize your content. And our overall goal is to teach you guys the art and science of how to rank on Google, how to increase organic traffic. Because there's Facebook ads that we just discussed before, but one of the other big drivers of traffic for your business is usually Google, and that's what we are specialized in. Yeah, we have a digital marketing agency, same like Andrea. We are location independent. We are 10 people. Brie and I are here in Bali right now. Yelena is too, but we have other people in Europe, in Australia, and also our clients are international. And those are them. Cool. And yeah, we're running a digital marketing conference on the first weekend of October with more than 30 workshops in 3 days. And we have people from Google coming, from Moz coming, from Hootsuite, Buffer, Kirill, who you just saw, is going to give a presentation there. So we're excited to see you guys, whether you're around in Bali, and if not, now is the time to maybe schedule to come back in 6 months. Cool.
So is Google intelligent yet? So what we're going to cover on this talk is Hummingbird for semantic search. So first things first, I'm sure many of you are beginning to intermediate. I apologize for some of the terminology that we're going to use. You can ask questions at the end because it's a very short presentation. We will do our best to be aware of the terminology that we're using that's probably well over your heads. But just so you know, Hummingbird for a semantic search, it is all Chinese. Knowledge graph for instant answers, rank brain for user engagement, and SEO in the age of AI. This could be an easier 2-hour conversation, but we have to obviously bring it down to 25 minutes. So what is AI? Obviously, Kirill did a really good example of explaining what it was. And in the context of Google, it's basically there's machine learning, artificial intelligence, and what is the difference between the two? Machine learning is when the computer teaches itself how to do something rather than being taught by humans. And artificial intelligence is when the computer can acquire knowledge from being taught and building on what it already knows. And the difference in this context is machine learning is a part of artificial intelligence that is used by Google. That's just a little bit of a differentiation there. I wasn't sure it was going to get covered, but yeah. Google's use of AI. So Google's been using AI for about 5 years now. There's two main algorithms that have been using it. It's called Hummingbird and RankBrain. Algorithms is a term that they use for specific programs that basically filter out, do the search results. You might have heard of Penguin and Panda. Who's heard of Penguin and Panda before? Okay, there's a few of you. So there's specific algorithms that affect the way search works. And RankBrain is the third most important ranking signal in only 2 years of operation. So just to understand what a ranking signal is, there's over 300 to about 500 ranking signals that we're aware of that are used by Google in order to make you rank higher or lower. Some of those ranking signals might be backlinks, content, on-page SEO, social shares, and a whole range of roast lambs and other things like that, that basically make it work. And RankBrain is the third most important ranking signal, so it's very, very important to what we're doing these days. This is a hummingbird, okay? Its brain is 4.3% of its total body weight. It's the largest ratio of any bird species. You thought SEO was boring. Hummingbirds have more favors per square inch than any other species of bird. They can lap up to nectar at 13 licks per second. That's pretty amazing. Their heart beats 1,260 beats per minute when it's during flight. And obviously the most important thing here is it has that figure of 8 flappy thing. So if you know about other algorithm updates from Google, they obviously use penguins and pandas, and hummingbirds, as you can see here, are very precise and very, very fast. And that's what they're trying to reflect with this algorithm update. Anyway, here's a picture of a hummingbird. So Hummingbird was deployed in 2013. And what it is, it's basically the engine that controls all the other algorithms. It's been running for a lot longer than before that, but they didn't give it a name. So now it's called Hummingbird, and it basically is the engine that controls all the other algorithms in there. And it affects about 90% of searches, which is like over 3 billion searches a day. So understanding what this is and how it works from an AI point of view is really, really important. So basically, Hummingbird is all based around semantic search. And what semantic search is the science of meaning in language. So it's a concept of improving search results by focusing on user intent and how the subject of the search relates to other information in its contextual relevance. So basically, I'll just go forward once it makes more sense. So basically, oh, it's slow. Okay. So basically, I'm going to show you a search pattern that we use. In this search pattern, panda is the subject of the search. Okay, let me rephrase that. Imagine that I'm in America right now, and it's 7:30 at night, and I just typed into Google Domino's Pizza online. Okay? Then my next search was panda. Okay? I could be looking for Panda the animal, or I could be looking for Panda Express, which is an online takeaway shop in America. And this is the context. So basically, panda is the subject of the search. So I put panda into Google, and the desire for Chinese food is my intent or the user's intent. The difference between the animal and the food chain is the context. This is kind of breaking it down for you guys to understand. So it's exactly the same way that Google, when it first came out with Hummingbird, there was no difference between, like, a refrigerator was different from a fridge, and a freezer, an icebox, and an esky were all different. When Hummingbird came out, it consolidated everything together, so it knew that all had the same contextual information. Does that make sense? Yeah, so like Apple computers versus Apple the fruit. And before, Google was not able to differentiate, but now it can. It seems like a very simple thing, but actually it's quite complicated for computers to do this kind of information. So back to the panda. So as you can see here, if I typed in panda, I'm going to come up with the research results for panda up there, which is obviously the open graph, which shows you the information about pandas. At the top there's panda antivirus. There's panda. There's more antivirus there. And Panda Express is this one here. You see? Hypothetically, if I was in America and it was 7:30 p.m. at night and I was within 5 kilometers of a Panda Express and I just typed in Domino's Pizza, Hummingbird is able to make the contextual leap to understand that I'm looking for Panda Express as opposed to looking for Panda the animal. Does that make sense? Okay, that's quite a simple thing, but it's actually quite amazing. Now, if I typed in dolphin, and then I typed in dog, I typed in cat, obviously it's going to give me this result. But if I basically was at, as I said, 7:30 p.m. at night looking for Domino's Pizza, it wasn't open, then type in Panda Express, it's going to give me a different search result. And that's really, really important. So what happens once I actually type in Panda? So after I've typed in Panda and I went to Panda Express as the result, as opposed to Panda, the search engine, or Pandan, not Panda, yeah, Pandan, the animal, or Panda, the antivirus, and I clicked on Panda Express, Google knows, yeah, cool, we got it right. This guy's after Panda Express. So when I come into here, with the auto suggest up there, instead of giving me Panda, how much does a panda weigh, what does a panda eat, and other variations, it's giving me Panda Express menu, because it knows that's what I'm after, okay? This is all really simple stuff, but if you think about it, I've just saved probably 15 seconds in searching, opening up 2 or 3 different websites, and I can automatically go straight to the menu within just typing in Panda. This is a massive leap. It seems really simple, as I said, but it's not. It's actually quite sophisticated. I mean, I love it. I love SEO. I don't know if you do, but all right. So the knowledge graph. This is just, so what we're seeing now, so knowledge graph is obviously this section here. Sorry, I was just putting that because Google was having a bit of fun here. And you can see here, they put the Grim Reaper in there, origin, birth, existence, club grouping, the end, food source, the souls. This is Google having some fun. Just so I chuck that in. So what we're seeing here is basically the knowledge graph. This section of the website of Google, you guys have obviously seen this. Like if you type in, how many centimeters in a meter, how many teaspoons in a cup, convert USD into euro, you guys have obviously come up with these results, right? This has been around since 2012, and it's looking for things, not strings, okay? So what it does is basically, okay, in this example here, obviously the easy stuff is, how many spoons in a cup, how many centimeters in a meter. That's quite easy. What I asked Google in this situation was, when was the wife of Justin Trudeau born? So Justin Trudeau is the Prime Minister, please forgive me if I'm wrong, of Canada. That's his wife. So basically, Google has to figure out that you're talking about the wife of the Canadian Prime Minister and when she is born. It's basically making 2 jumps in information here. And as you can see here, the knowledge graph is a database of facts with things in the world and its relationship between them. So it knows that the wife of Justin Trudeau is born on this day. This seems really, really trivial, and you just kind of like type this in and it all works for you. But the reality is this is actually quite sophisticated, and it's going to get more and more sophisticated. Like you're going to be asked like complex, chemistry questions and all that kind of stuff, and it's really going to change the way you're searching. Because right now, I didn't have to look on 5 websites to get this result. Google just gave it to me, and that's really, really powerful. All right, so.
And this.
So I'll start before you. So basically, when we're looking at RankBrain, as we can see here, Google put in the RankBrain term at the knowledge graph term here, and it gave us exactly what we needed to find. We didn't have to look on a website for that. So that's really, really cool. And I'll let Viola basically take over from here about RankBrain.
Cool. Yeah, and basically it doesn't make you want to go into the website anymore. It gives you the answer straight away. So RankBrain is the 3rd most important ranking signal that we know of today, probably after backlinks and content, right? And what RankBrain measures and what it's trying to get a feel for is user engagement metrics. It's getting a feeling for how much satisfactions a user receiving from your search result. And the more satisfied the user is, the higher it's going to make you rank. And the reason why they introduced it 2 years ago is that the Google search queries that we're putting in are getting more and more long, detailed, and sophisticated. So the way we use Google now is we put in search queries like buy red sneakers in Canggu, and Google is actually giving us a good result for that. But probably no one has ever put this search query in before, and no SEO has ever optimized for that search query as well. So the reason Google can understand what you're looking for is because they start to see patterns within the searches that people are making, and those patterns are based on user engagement metrics, which means if someone is typing in a search query and they're getting a bunch of results, which one is the result they're going to stick with? Which one is the one where they're going to spend a lot of time on page? Which one is the one where they're going to research and browse around the website? Yeah. So this is an example of a complex search query, which is, what's the title of the consumer at the highest level of the food chain? I don't even know that. You guys probably don't even know that. but Google does. And then the reason why we chose this is because this question is pretty misleading, because we've been talking about food chains before and we were talking about fast food. And consumer sounds like someone walking into a shop and, you know, purchasing some sort of product. But Google understands that the person typing in this is actually looking for a biological concept. They are looking for the person who's consuming the most food in an ecosphere, which is the apex predator. So even though there's no SEO optimized page for that, Google can return that. And people who have seen us talk about SEO before have seen that we know how to optimize a page, you know, for accommodation Sydney, business intelligence software, or best luxury spa in Bali. But for complicated terms like what's the title of the consumer at the highest level of the food chain, I'm not optimizing for that because barely anyone is ever searching for that. However, RankBrain understands to break this long query down into parts of it, like consumer, highest level food chain, and understands what it's all about and give us the correct answer. I'm going here. Yes. And I want to show you two effects on how RankBrain works. And this is one of the negative ones. So this is a page. It's very hard to tell, but it's like a 16-month overview of organic traffic from a page. So they're getting the traffic from ranking in Google, and this page has been ranking for hundreds of search queries, hundreds of long-tail search queries, but it hasn't been producing good results in terms of engagement. So someone types in, you know, buy red sneakers in Canggu, and they go to the first page, they bounce back. They go to the second page, they bounce back. And they go to the third page, and they stick around, they read, you know, they buy the shoes. Well, this page is one of the unlucky ones who has been the first or second one. People have been coming there, having a look and bouncing back out, and they haven't found the red sneakers that they're looking for. And over time, incrementally, RankBrain has decreasing the rankings for those pages because they realize the users are not finding this relevant. And all this page on time is obviously niche specific and niche relevant. It can also go the other way around. This is an analytics report from WordStream, and there are 32 most popular pages. And you guys probably can read that. Anyhow, so those are the 32 most popular pages with the most organic traffic they have. So they're having a lot of organic traffic for that, which means they're ranking well. And interestingly enough, the average page on time for those 32 pages is 13 minutes. That's because they're writing good long-form content, they're having videos on there, and once people get there, they actually stick around. They start reading, they're looking for, you know, related articles, they're watching the videos, they're looking at the infographics, they're spending a lot of time there. And there's no coincidence that those well-written, good pages are getting, you know, good click-through rate, good page on time, and they are thus rewarded by Google with good rankings as well. So how do we do SEO in the time of Google's AI? Because I don't know how long you guys have been trying to rank your website or not, but maybe 10 years ago you could stuff your keyword in there, you know, 20 times and you're good. But how do you optimize when Google knows how much the user actually likes the page? And the trick on that is RankBrain is a self-learning algorithm, and it creates its own rules based on the patterns and observation it makes. So even the Google engineers don't know anymore how it works. And even the Google engineer can't predict anymore what RankBrain is going to return. And as much as it's not a shortcut and as it sounds complicated, the ultimate answer is have really good content. Because if your users are going to love your content, Google is going to love them too. And that means we're providing content that satisfies the users, that satisfies the need that the user has when searching. What we're trying to do is we want to terminate the search. So if we type in buy red shoes in Canggu, and we are that lucky third search result where people go in, they browse around, they look around, and in the end, they buy red shoes. And then they go back to Google and they say, okay, book a flight to Sweden. Then Google knows that you terminated the search and you satisfied what the user was looking for. And that is excellent news for the content creators between all of you guys, because it means that if you're writing, you know, good long form content, if you're using good, you know, imagery, infographic videos, then you're going to be doing well for Google as well. And one thing is with the contextual keywords is obviously if you're writing a natural article about kitchen, you're naturally going to use, the terms fridge, stove, freezer, etc. And Google is going to understand that you're writing about kitchen and kitchen supplies, and that is what your website is about, and that is what you're relevant for. And the other thing is, and what's a killer in terms of user engagement metrics and click-through rate, is obviously page speed and mobile optimization. Probably 50% of your traffic is coming from phones and tablets, and if your website is not optimized for that, you're not only frustrating the user who's on the phone and kind of like fiddling around, but you're also letting Google know, hey, everyone on mobile is hating this page, and Google is going to punish you for that. So what you want to do is you want to include features and content that draw the user deep into your website. Whether you show them related products, related articles, whether you make them sign up, just push them deeper down the funnel. And yay, finally, the times of pop-ups and auto-playing videos, are hopefully diminishing because, as said, you want to make the user happy. And the last tip, and this is our favorite tip and what we usually say in our SEO talk, is look at your search result on page 1 as an ad. Everyone is putting so much time into their ad copy. We just learned that from Andrea and Kirill in the presentation before. But think of your organic search result as an ad, and it needs as much love. I know you only have 60 characters in a title and 160 in the meta description, but make them sexy nonetheless. So that's an easy way how you can kind of like steal traffic from your competitors. If you're in position 4, but you have the most appealing search results and you're getting all those clicks, Google is going to notice that and going to see like everyone is loving position 4 much more than 1, 2, 3, and it's going to slowly move up over time. Essentially, what you want to do is mimic the pros. If you think about your business and you put the most important keywords in, no one is going to be on page 1 by accident. They are on page 1 because they put in the work. So if you want to understand what's happening and what they're doing right, look at those that are on page 1. See what are the patterns, what are they doing, how does their content look like, and mimic that for your own benefit as well. Is there a shortcut?
Is there a shortcut? Of course there's a shortcut, and there's black hats. I'm a reformed black hat. So in the old days, you used to buy a whole ton of backlinks and send them to a website and rank and then make lots of money, and now you got to work for it, unfortunately. But no, there is a trick. There is a trick to beating the AI. Don't worry, it doesn't. It's they've already figured it out. But basically, so what you can do is you can actually create. I don't know if you take photos of this. So what you can do is you can actually buy traffic from like places like mturk and microworkers.com. And what you do is you basically buy traffic for like 1 cent or between 1 and 5 cents per traffic, and then they come in. They type in your keyword terms. They might type in like it's Bali accommodation. They type in Bali accommodation. Let's just say you're a position 7. They'll go to position 3, click on that, bounce back to the search results, click on position 4, go to that result, come back, then go to position 7, which is yours, click around, spend a minute or 2 on the website, open up different pages, maybe sign up for a newsletter. Then they change the search to something else to buy red sneakers in Canggu. And if you get enough people comparatively speaking to the search volumes for the keyword term you're targeting, you're going to get a lift in rankings, and it actually works. The only caveat here is no matter where you buy traffic from, it will never replicate a real user. For some reason, the Google can always pick up on it. I think it's because people are the micro workers are coming in really fast. They're going, click to that ad, click to this ad, click to that one, and then move on. Click to that, and then they can see it's not genuine. And so it lasts for about a month or 2, then your search results rankings drop. Another cool thing that we've done is the Google Auto Suggest. You can actually manipulate that with exactly the same technique. Let's say, for example, you typed in Dojo Bali, and you might come up with Dojo Bali opening hours, Dojo Bali contact form. If we typed in Dojo Bali, when are we getting a jacuzzi? And all of us did that once a day for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we're going to see in this auto suggest basically Dojo Bali, when are we getting a jacuzzi? Okay, and I'm serious, it will do that. And that's where you can see here, how easy do you think it is to sneak into the zoo when I need some penguins like right now? So you can do this kind of stuff too. We've done it for our clients for reputation management. So this is a little trick, but it's just something I'm just adding for entertainment value and something just to test out.
And because we want a jacuzzi.
And we want a jacuzzi. So Michael, if you're watching, Michael, we want a jacuzzi. Okay, so the future of Google. Everything we've shown you is not like totally mind-blowing, but if you think about 5 years ago and 2 years ago and what's happened and the way search is changing, it's changing really, really rapidly, but you don't notice it as a user because it's just making it easier for you. If things are easier, you don't notice them. You know, things get harder, you're going to notice them more. So these are all incremental changes, but they're actually really, really big. And the direction with the knowledge graph, and I'm coining the term Google's getting turned into an ask engine instead of a search engine, because basically you're asking questions to Google and it's giving you that information. The thing, so we only have 1 minute. So, okay, sorry, all right. So I'll skip that whole spiel about,
No,
oh yeah.
say that with the song lyric side.
Okay, yeah, so basically like you're looking at it, if you had a conversion, let's just say you had like a song lyric site, all those websites are now completely redundant because Google has taken all that information and is displaying it straight away now. So song lyric sites are dead. Any kind of conversion for, you know, euro or currency conversion or metric conversion, those sites are all dead. And you're going to start to see more and more sites getting taken out by Google because Google's going to find the information and display it instead of actually showing your website. And that will actually become more and more redundant. So the point here is to make sure that you have really, really good quality content on your website that's really, really engaging, and it's something that Google can't rip off, for lack of a better term.
Cool. So to quickly summarize that is Google understands more and more and optimizes search results based on context, right? It's knowing whether you're looking for Apple the computer or Apple the fruit. It's going to provide more and more answers directly, the ask engine instead of the search engine, which is a problem for you as a website owner because you have to think of new strategies on how you're actually getting them to click on your website when they're already getting the answers. And the interesting part is Google ranks based on user satisfaction and user engagement metrics. And I think that's actually good news because that means like a lot of like cheap SEO tricks and, you know, like keyword stuffing and stuff like that is not going to be as important in the future as it now. And content is and always will be king because it's sustainable and it's actually serving to the user. And that's what Google is trying to do too. Google is only going to stay the most relevant, you know, search engine as long as they're the ones giving the best results. And that's why they're fighting kind of the cheap tricks so much. All those might seem like incremental small changes, but they actually have huge implications. And obviously Google is permeating with their AIs into everyday life anyhow, with the Internet of Things, with the Google Glasses and Google Now and all this stuff. Yeah.
Sorry? Oh. Yeah, thank you, come and chat. So Bali with DMSS.io, we're launching tickets tomorrow. We've got speakers from Google, Hootsuite, Moz, Ahrefs,
Empire
Buffer.
Flippers.
What?
Empire Flippers.
Empire Flippers, yeah. Murray's the MC. We got tickets on sale tomorrow. Tell your friends, please help support us. Dojo is a massive partner of ours. We kind of put this on for this whole thing. I also want to give a massive shout out to Tamara and Sugi and Haran as well, because these guys have put in probably like 5 or 6 hours just to make this happen, to get the webinar working, because that's what we want to do. So really thank you guys. I really appreciate the work you guys have put in. Woo! That's it.
I don't know if you want to do questions.
I mean, 3 minutes. Didn't I get an extra minute now for like giving you a big ups?
No.
Okay, 3.
All right.
Any questions? Oh yes, let's go for a wander down the back.
Nowadays you have Google AMP, accelerated mobile pages. How much affect those search results?
It does quite a bit at the moment. If you can go AMP, then definitely do it. If your industry is going AMP, then definitely do it. It's definitely affecting it.
Is it true that if you use the AMP, that your answers of questions going to be end up in the Google Knowledge?
No, if you want to end up in Knowledge Graph, we could do a little course on that actually. If you want to end up in Knowledge Graph, you need to be ranking on first page of Google, at least from position 3 to position 10. And then you basically, if you use SEMrush or Ahrefs, you can actually see, if you put a whole batch of keywords in, you can see which keywords actually have Knowledge Graph attached to them. And so you can go in, put like 100 keywords, and you'll see like 10 or 5 or 10 that actually have Knowledge Graph attached to them. If you're in position 10 to position 3, then you can just go like itemize it. You sound like you look like, and then you can itemize it. So like, let's just say it's like, how do I restart Windows 7? I don't know. And you go, point 1, turn off your computer. Point 2, press restart. Point 3, plug your computer in. And if you do that process, you're going to be able to get those feature snippets.
And the thing is, I mean, maybe that was confusing in question. We actually want our people to show up in the Knowledge Graph. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Because if you get
Because
from
that's
position,
an opportunity to steal traffic from the other competitors on page one.
and so there's like empirical evidence saying that like if you get from position, like if you get the knowledge graph, you're going to get probably 60% of the traffic that's on that page. So that's a massive amount of traffic. So if you think about Google stealing that traffic from people as well.
Cool.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next question. Oh yeah, you must have answered all the questions already.
We are around. We live here, so ask us in the next few days.
Nice one. Give them a round of applause, everyone. Bree and Viola. Oh yes. Like to thank our speakers, Bree, Viola, Kirill. You still there? On you there, buddy?
I'm still here.
Yeah, nice one. Thanks for stay tuning in. And thank you very much for Andrea back there. Thank you, Andrea. On behalf of everyone here at Dojo, thank you very much for coming. Selamat malam and good night.
Thank you. Bye.
We're going to head down to Echo Beach Club and get some beers and probably some food if you want to casually come down there as well.
That's it. Beers and beach. Beers and beach right now. Let's go. Let's do it.
Or talk to us.